Hey there, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam, and welcome to a very special episode. We were thinking about what can we do to wrap up the year 2021. What sort of an episode could we give you guys in that break between Christmas and New Year's? And one of the things we've spoken to you all about throughout the year is the importance of getting to know who your ideal customer is and where they are and what's going on for them in life at the moment. And my hope for you right now is that you're spending some quality time having a little rest, having a break with your family and friends and loved ones, and maybe even taking some time out for yourself. Now, I considered this and we got chatting with our team and we thought about what could we deliver to you as a podcast episode in this time for you right here, right now, that will be relevant for where you're at. And we decided it was absolutely the perfect time to do something a little bit different. So at the recommendation of one of our amazing team members, EJ, he piped up and said, why don't you do some of your favorite flashbacks, your favorite snippets from 2021? And I immediately thought, what a brilliant idea. An opportunity for me to go back and showcase some of my favorite interviews over the past 12 months. Now, this was a great idea, but the challenge here was picking just a few. So what I've done is I've picked 4 snippets to share with you in this episode that you can listen to while you're sitting in the sun. Maybe it's winter where you are. You might be in the US right now and you might be in front of a fire and you're just thinking, I want a little bit of downtime, but I also want to invest in myself. So I've picked 4 snippets from interviews that I did over the year where I felt that these people have grown me, that I took away a lot from these episodes, that I know we got the greatest amount of people respond to us saying that was really impactful for me. And I wanted to share a couple of my favorite moments. So here goes, guys. I hope you enjoy this episode. It's something just a little bit different, but I do want to just say, sit down, relax, take a little bit of time out for yourself and enjoy these 4 little special moments that I'm about to share with you. I hope that you enjoy them as much as I did. All right, well, I hope you're comfortable and you're ready to tune on in and listen to 4 amazing people and amazing special moments from our podcast in 2021. This first little moment that I'm going to reshare with you is with a very, very special person to me, Celine Egan. Now, in just the recent weeks, Celine has actually been promoted to CEO of Juice Plus Australia and New Zealand. I've known Celine for many years, but this particular episode was one that I pulled her in to talk about something that was a very personal topic for me. As we've gone into COVID and our lives have been completely changed in the last 24 months, one of the things that had become incredibly apparent to me and has been a journey for myself and my family just in the last 12 months alone has been the effect that stress has taken on our health. And specifically, some of the habits that many of us have formed around that. For me, one of the observations I'd made was that alcohol had become something that many people, myself included, have included it as being a regular part of their daily life as a coping mechanism, rather than it being something to have on the occasion when you're with family and friends or socializing. Now, the really amazing thing about this particular episode, and this one certainly is poking the bear a bit here. If you're a little bit like me and you're thinking, oh, my relationship with maybe it could be something other than alcohol, it might be caffeine, it might be food, it may even be exercise, but your relationship with some of these things has maybe changed a little bit and you might not be overly happy with how it's changed. Well, we listen in to Celine talking about the journey that she went on in literally giving up alcohol altogether. And it wasn't what she intended to do, but it was something that changed for her as she went on a little bit of a journey. And she shares with us why. She talks a little bit about what goes on for people individually, but also how she combated the pressures and stresses that go on around us every day. I really enjoyed this episode. I found it confronting, but I also found it a really great reminder that we all have a journey to go on in our health, in our mentality, in our coping mechanisms. And especially right now, I really feel that this one was a very important episode for others to hear as well. And I had so many people reaching out to me going, that was really powerful. And it was exactly what I had to hear at this point in time. So I'm going to share this little snip with you as a little reminder of that amazing episode for you right now.
That's a good lead into today, because today we're going to talk about something that I think this is a bit of a taboo subject. This is something a lot of people avoid talking about. And we were just having a bit of a preliminary conversation about this. And I mentioned to Celine why I wanted to talk about it. She's right on cue with the wine glass. But something that I know has been a real change over the last 12 months has been people's relationship, not just with alcohol, but coping mechanisms, because life has changed. And I really felt it on my heart to do a little bit of a chat with you, Celine, about this, because I have watched firsthand your little journey with alcohol over the last, how many days?
487.
487 days. So 487 days ago, you made the decision to stop drinking. Not necessarily permanently. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but you made the decision to give it up. And I'm not suggesting that people need to go to that extreme, by the way. But do it if you want to. We're going to give you so much information today to help you with that. But what I do want to do is bring to the forefront the conversation around what we've been going through over the last year, the changes in lifestyle, particularly for the women and the mums out there, not excluding the dads, but I know, how my relationship with coffee and alcohol and even exercise has changed over the last year, food. So I wanted to jump on in and have a bit of a chat to you about it, Celine. I've got some questions geared up and lined in there to get right to the nitty gritty and the heart of this. But let's start with asking the question that I'm sure is on everyone's lips, which is, what was the decision? Why? Why did you make that decision?
Why would you do that? Look, I love having this conversation. I think it's great for us to be able to have it, because I agree totally. There are so many people out there at the moment. Life has changed from what we know it. I mean, no matter what we think, life has definitely changed. And the reality is, this last 12 months, and if you're if you're watching this down the track, we're talking about 2020, the year that was, and probably even as we come into 2021. Mm-hmm. It has most definitely changed for a lot of people. And I know myself, even, I have to say, my relationship with food, my relationship with alcohol, my relationship with exercise, all of those things have kind of changed. Yeah. However, I gave up alcohol before all of that happened.
Yeah.
That was actually, so we're actually talking about towards the end of 2019. So why did I give it up? There was a couple of reasons, but the main reason, to be honest, was I am a woman of a certain age. And so I was kind of taking that foray into menopause. And I'm very blessed because of the fact, I suppose, of, live well, eat well, supplement well, what I've kind of learned in my journey and I suppose living the Juice Plus lifestyle has actually helped me to kind of, prepare my body and be set up for it. So symptoms from menopause, really, they were not that bad, especially when I hear some of the stories. However, one of the things that really made life just a little bit difficult was the hot flushes. Just that kind of, that, and they would just come out of nowhere.
I've got all this to look forward to, right?
Oh, you so do. You so do. Those of you who are not of a certain age, don't whinge about it, okay?
You think you get 3 kids and then you're like, hang on a minute. We're not done.
I know, seriously, I was having some conversations with God going, what is this? I mean, hello, we go through all of the things that women do. We give birth, we raise the next, God, not guys, God. Yeah, exactly. And I just kind of go, what is this? Like, now we're going to do menopause? Righty-o, okay. So anyhow, so in the midst of all of that, what I noticed, what my observations were, because I was just taking notice of when were those hot flushes worse than other times, just trying to kind of observe what that was going on. And I have to say, when I had a glass of something a little bit stronger than this, it would definitely, I noticed it would trigger it. It would actually trigger it, and it would be worse. Okay. And I did everything. I looked at, because I really was desperate not to give up alcohol. So I did. I'm Irish.
I will learn to run a half marathon, she says.
I'm Irish. I was kind of going, you know what? There's got to be other options.
What crazy diet can I go on? Yeah.
I know. I tried them all. I'm just saying, I tried them all. Now, this might not be for you, but I have to say, it helped me. So I looked at organic wine. I looked at preservative-free wine. I looked at whatever it was kind of thing that you could do. I even looked at going straight to the spirits because, you know what? I'm Irish. I love my whiskey.
You really did
I love
go all out.
I did. I did my research, believe you me. Because in the midst of all of this, might I add, I had 2 children getting married. So we had our daughter getting married basically, and then 3.5 months later, our son was getting married. Now, that might not sound much, but we're Irish. They were Irish weddings. We had everybody coming from Ireland. Our weddings don't go for a few hours of an afternoon. Like, they're 3-day events with a lot of parties. So anyhow, we'd had our daughter's wedding, and I was kind of going, you know what, this is not good. I definitely feel it. So my initial reason was basically to be able to assist with, the menopause symptoms. I was giving up for 100 days. That's what I was doing. I was giving up for 100 days.
Yep.
But 487 days later, we are still here. And I am going to say, before we kind of pop on to the next question or whatever like that, there is never going to be a right time. There is never going to be an easy time. There is always going to be an event, because when I gave up, I then had Christmas, New Year, my daughter-in-law's hens weekend, which was all down in Hobart, going to wineries and all the rest.
Yeah, I remember you ringing me asking, Sam, do you know of any really good non-alcoholic wines to help us?
True that point. No. Then our son's wedding. And then, add insult to injury, COVID. I mean, honestly, this is why we're having this conversation, most people turned to alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope I didn't poke the bear too much with that one, but I really think that sometimes those challenging topics are the very ones that we really need to hear the most. And I know that for me, that was certainly the case. So this next one, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach here, and I'm going to switch across to an interview that I did through the year with Oscar Trimboli. Now, Oscar is a deep listening expert, and anyone that heard this full episode knows just how powerful this one was. And there was so many aha moments through here. But I grabbed a particular part of this interview that I really found mind-blowing for me, and it was about how to listen, some tips to listen to people better. And it's really amazing, the psychology behind listening. And Oscar talks about this throughout the episode and what goes on in our brain, how we process words, how we process things when we're listening, but also how we listen. And I've loved this episode so much that since doing it, I actually kept some tips on a Post-it on my computer screen here to remind me every day to tune in and listen just a little bit differently to what I have been or what I habitually do. So I really love this. These quick tips are really powerful, and I really think that this is a great reminder, particularly right now. So I loved Oscar. I loved the interview with him, and you know what? I've listened back to this one a few times, and every time I pick up something new. So I hope that you enjoy this one. Here we go.
Listening starts with you. And if you can get you ready to listen, then listening to them becomes much easier. And the first thing you want to do to be available and present. Here's 3 really practical tips for all of us when it comes to listening. These will be really easy to say, but they'll be very hard to practice. So tip number 1, switch your notifications on your mobile phone off.
Ooh, good one. Yep, I like it.
Put your mobile phone in your bag, out of sight, definitely not on the table.
Yep.
Now, for a lot of you listening, I just sound like the drug dealer who took away your drugs. Because you're so addicted to the red dots, the beeps, the buzzes, the dings on your phone. and they're not going to be helpful in the conversation.
Yep.
We need to know how to bring our attention to the conversation. So tip number 1, switch your notifications off. If you're crazy brave like me, you can just switch the phone off. Sam just had a moment, everyone. If you're listening on audio only, she just had a moment.
These guys know. They know how hard I try to disconnect from technology, but I don't remember the last time I turned my phone off. Keep going, Oscar. I can handle it.
Can you?
I can.
Can you switch your phone off now, Sam?
Oh, I didn't say that. I said keep going. Let's be real here.
Tip number 2, drink a glass of water every 30 minutes and drink a glass of water just before you go into the conversation. A hydrated brain is a listening brain. Our brain is 5% of our body, yet it consumes 26% of blood sugars. So the best way to get blood sugars to the brain, drink water. By the way, if you drink coffee, you're going to have to drink an extra glass of water for every cup of coffee you have as well.
I've heard you say this one, not the coffee part, that's new. But I'd heard you talk about water the last time I heard you speak. And you know what I did? I went straight out. I bought myself another drink bottle. Do you like that? I need a drink.
Beautiful. It says I need a drink. Yeah.
It says I need a drink. And I have been consciously, before I go into a meeting, having, because I can see on the back of it my how much I've had to drink. So I'm consciously drinking a glass's worth before I go into a meeting. And I have noticed a massive, massive difference, although I do drink a bit of coffee and I haven't increased my intake. So I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that part. I love that.
should we just put that there? Now, what's different for you, Sam? What do you notice? You said, I've noticed a difference. What's different for you by drinking water?
So my attention span has definitely improved, and my ability to sit and concentrate and listen has definitely improved. But when you spend a lot of time in front of a screen, which I do, it's a natural part of my job, and for a lot of us, we're doing our meetings by Zoom at the moment. So I actually find that has a much more, like I'm coming out of meetings exhausted. My eyes are tired. Everything's tired. But if I am staying well hydrated, which is easy to forget to do, especially when you're stuck in the one spot and you're not getting up and moving around so much, I'm definitely noticing that I'm able to focus visually as well as mentally in the meetings. So yeah, big difference there.
Lots of science behind it. And look, depending on the size of your kidney, it could be a bad thing, right? But it also gives you another way to short circuit a very long meeting by having a little pit stop. So tip number 1, switch off your notifications on your mobile phone. Tip number 2, drink a glass of water every 30 minutes. And then tip number 3, the deeper you breathe, the deeper you listen. So again, before the conversation, just take 3 deep breaths. And there is a correct way to breathe. Most people don't realize this. In through the nose, all the way down to the bottom of your diaphragm. And I've interviewed a lot of vocal coaches. They say all the way down to the bottom of your glutes. If you really want to imagine it. Apparently Dame Joan Sutherland, the very famous Australian opera singer, was famous for breathing all the way down to her glutes.
Okay.
The glutes are your backside muscles, if you don't know what the glutes are. Then out through the mouth. So in through the nose, all the way down, and then out through the mouth. And it should take, done well, about 15 seconds. Nobody should notice that you're doing it. In a meeting, if you get knocked off course, they say something that's unexpected, or you're just a bit worried that the conversation isn't going the way you expect, again, just take a deep breath in, hold it for 5 seconds, and let it out. An oxygenated brain is a listening brain. So listening happens in the front of the brain, the modern part of the brain. And the part of the brain that's telling you to be worried, to anticipate anxiety or fear or frustration, is coming from the most primitive part of your brain, the part of your brain that's connected to your spine, the one that says run really fast because there's a saber-toothed tiger coming to eat us all up.
Yep.
So those 3 tips will get you ready to listen. We haven't even turned up to the conversation, but just like a gym, you're not going to go to the gym with the wrong clothes, with no warm up. and you don't know how to use the equipment. So we're showing you how to use the equipment, how to warm up, how to get ready to listen.
Alrighty, all listening better. I bet you are, and I bet you got a few little aha moments just from that tiny little bit of listening to Oscar Trimboli. If you loved that one, make sure you do listen to that full episode if you haven't had a chance to yet. Now, the next person I am going to throw to is somebody who is very special to both Greg and I. We've done lots with this individual over the last 12 months, and this particular episode, again, was a really powerful one. I know we had so many people that just blew my mind. So I'm going to throw to a particular part of this podcast episode that I did with our good friend Keith Abraham, where he talks about having a positive mindset, but he talks about how to make that happen in a way that is sustainable. And specifically, he talks a little bit about having purpose to what we're doing and purpose to our mindset and purpose to the direction that we're going. I really loved listening to Keith talk about this. I've heard him speak about this a number of times, and so much power here. And he talks about utilizing our subconscious as well as our conscious brain. And if you've heard me in our podcast talking about this before, you know I'm really passionate about tapping into the really powerful part of our brain, which is our subconscious. And so I know you're going to love this little snip here. Again, if you love this and you want to hear more, you can absolutely listen to the full episode. But I've grabbed a little bit for you just to kind of whet your appetite here for a moment. So enjoy.
If you had great self-love, if you are no longer your harshest critic, if you are now your greatest coach and cheerleader, how would you turn up? And so when we look at so I better give you.
And I'm looking up at the wall here because I just want to say, last time you spoke to me about these, I loved it so much that we've actually written those up on our board for our entire team to see. Imagine how you would show up in the world if you were.
Yes.
We've got them all written down there.
Yeah. So this is the thing that most people go, I just need to be positive. The challenge is with the subconscious is they have no definition around that. You know, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And so you have to get very, very specific on the mindset you need. Just to share those other 6, limitless. You know, if you had limitless opportunities, if you had limitless energy, how would you turn up? How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? If you're empowered, if you were no longer waiting for people to give you permission to step into your potential, if you were no longer waiting for your brother-in-law to say, oh, yeah, I think that's a great business to be in, well done to you, you were no longer waiting for that. How would you turn up? And more importantly, how would you turn up if you were grateful? Because here's what we do know is that unless you are grateful for all the things that aren't great in your life, you'll become bitter, not better. And I think it's easy for you to be grateful when everything's great.
Okay, we're up to the last of the 4 little flashbacks that I've picked for you guys to listen to today. And I figured, why not finish on one of the most powerful things that we've spoken about this year? I'm going to throw now to a beautiful individual who has been a massive player in the growth for both Greg and myself, is a very special friend, and she has been incredibly powerful for so many of the people in our community to learn from over the last 12 months. I'm going to be introducing you, if you haven't heard her before, to Lisa McGuinness Smith. Now, Lisa spoke to us in this podcast about storytelling, and this little grab that I have pulled for you is one that is specifically about the power of our story. Now, your story is one of the most powerful marketing assets you have, even if you don't realize it just yet. And Lisa's going to share a little bit about why, but the key here is understanding that you've got so many amazing stories ready to roll out that are going to help you to connect with and build an incredibly valuable relationship with many of your ideal customers. Lisa is a bundle of energy. She is so incredibly loving, and she is so giving of her time and her knowledge and expertise. And I know that this little grab that I've picked to share with you is going to uplift you and remind you of how important your story is, not anybody else's, but yours. So I hope that you really enjoy this little grab that I am about to share with you. So tune on in and listen and, of course, enjoy.
How and where can bits of our story be used? How do you strategically suggest that people utilize their story?
All right. Well, I mean, I certainly know that if you're going to be on social media, people want to know who you are. They will learn what you do, but they actually are more interested in who you are first.
Mm-hmm.
And because I am an encourager, I love to give people the courage to take the next step, like that thing that's right in front of them. What is the opportunity right now? It might be a relationship. It might be a business building opportunity. It might be your health challenge, but it's giving people courage.
Yes.
So what I tend to do is tell little stories of where I've had to take a step into the unknown and what the result of that has been. And they can be tiny little steps, like asking a guy if he'd like to have a cup of coffee with you when you're a single. Would you like to have a cup of coffee? All you need to say is, do you like cake? and you can tell, well, I like coffee. How about we have a coffee and cake?
So we're going to include some pickup lines in today's podcast episode.
Well, look, I don't call it picking up. I call it making connections, because singles need to build a bigger circle of connection. And
yes.
I'm going to say, let me just apply this to business people. We also need to build a bigger circle of influence. And that we do that by being able to share our story so that other people relate, and then they share your story again into their circles.
I actually kind of like that. All right, not pickup line, but let's call it a pickup line for the sake of where I'm going with this. I like that for, if you're trying to get a new lead, or if you're trying to build a new connection with a customer, I still think that one's perfect. Do you like cake? Well, I like coffee. Great. Let's organize a time to catch up. Perfect.
Yes.
Fantastic. I love that.
And notice again, there's a story in that, isn't it? You could tell a story if you wanted to about, I'll tell you one, because I met this woman and I really wanted to get to know her better. And I asked her, do you like cake? Well, then she told me that she actually produces magazines with cake, magnificent cake. And I said, I'm coming to your place to taste your cake. And we laughed and laughed. And we've now built a friendship simply over the fact that I just asked a question and we found we had a common interest. So anyone else out there like cake?
I love that. And can I just point out, guys, that was the simplicity of sharing a story, because all you did was share a point of knowledge, a little piece of information by turning it into, and it was a real story. But that's what we're talking about with storytelling, guys, is using your story to share important things. And that can be done in any element of your business as well.
Yep. And maybe let's take the wording and change it. And so we're going to take a moment in your life and just share a moment, because that makes it nice and easy. You're not sharing a story. You're just sharing an event, something that happened, and it was just maybe a very small moment, but it was memorable. And you know that most of the family stories that have gone on for forever, your legacy stories, have come out from people just telling a moment.
Absolutely. And sometimes bigger stories will come out as well. It might be, the time that this happened. Remember, one of the things we talked about, Lisa, I had to come up with a story, and it was the time my dad ran over me with the car. So, that was a slightly longer, more drawn out story. There were a few more elements to that one rather than it being just a moment.
Wow. Well, there you have it. There are 4 awesome little flashbacks from 2021. There are so many more amazing podcasts. I had a really difficult time picking out just 4 moments to share with you, but I really hope that this has inspired you. I hope that this has given you a few little pieces of useful information to take you into 2022. And if you loved any of these little grabs and you want to listen to the full episode, we've included those in the show notes for you, so you can go back and listen to the entire interview with these incredible individuals. I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody this year who's not only been an incredible guest on our podcast, but I want to take a moment to thank those in our team that have helped us put this podcast together. Now, I know that I'm the one that's showing up every week week visually, but it takes an incredible team for us to put this together every week. And everyone who's a part of this is doing so much work in behind the scenes to bring this information to each and every one of our beautiful listeners. I also want to thank our listeners as well for tuning on in each week and for connecting with us, reaching out to us, communicating with us. And I want to encourage you as we go into 2022, guys, there is an amazing year ahead of us. There is so much amazingness yet to come for you and your business. And I just want to throw lots of love out there to all of you at this time. Whether you're listening to this maybe in 2022, you might be listening to the recording of this later on down the track, that's okay. I just want to say, guys, that it has been an insane couple of years. And Greg and I feel so privileged to be able to walk this walk with you and be a part of your journey for as long as that may be. So for right now, I want to wish you an amazing happy new year and thank you for tuning on in. And I look forward to being a continuing part of your direct selling journey into 2022. So bye for now, guys. Let's wrap up 2021 and look after yourselves. Have an incredible break and we look forward to seeing you next year. Bye for now.